Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered why some kids seem to follow instructions like little soldiers, while others are more like, maybe later? Well, this new study dives deep into how culture might be shaping even the earliest social interactions, right from toddlerhood. Imagine this: you are a 2-year-old, and someone asks you to give them a toy. Would you be more likely to do it if they commanded you to, or if they politely asked? And does it matter where you grew up? That is the big question these researchers wanted to answer. They thought that how parents talk to their kids and what they expect from them is really shaped by their culture, and that this, in turn, shapes how kids respond. So they gathered 2-year-olds from two very different places: Ibadan in Nigeria and Regensburg in Germany. Think of it as two different parenting rulebooks. In Ibadan, they see parenting as more about responsibility and following social roles. So parents might use more direct commands, like "give me that now." In Regensburg, the focus is more on independence and personal choice. So parents might use more polite requests, like "could you please pass me that?" They decided to test the toddlers with both kinds of instructions. For the kids in Ibadan, they were given the choice between commands and polite requests. And for the kids in Regensburg, they did the same. They wanted to see if the kids would be more responsive to the style of communication that was more common in their own culture. And guess what? They found exactly that. The kids in Ibadan were more likely to hand over the object when they were told to do it directly, with an imperative. On the flip side, the kids in Regensburg were more likely to respond when they were asked nicely, with a request. This is called a cultural congruency effect. It means that what is familiar and expected in your culture makes you more likely to cooperate. It is like learning the specific social dance steps of your community. But why? The researchers looked at how the mothers in each culture talk to their children when assigning tasks. They called this maternal scaffolding. Mothers in Ibadan tended to be more assertive, meaning they used direct prompts and emphasized getting the job done. Mothers in Regensburg were more deliberate, using softer language questions and encouragements like "please." This difference in how moms scaffold their kids' learning and tasks seems to be the key. Kids are learning from their parents' style, and that style is deeply cultural. Now, here is the really fascinating part. What happened when the kids heard instructions that weren't typical for their culture? When the Ibadan kids heard polite requests, or when the Regensburg kids heard direct commands, they got confused or even protested. This shows that it is not just about what they do, but how they think about social interactions. They've already built an internal understanding of how these requests should sound and how people should interact. And when that expectation is broken, it causes a reaction. It is like if you are used to saying "thank you" and someone doesn't respond, you might feel a bit off. For these toddlers, it's a much stronger signal that something isn't right. This really ties back to what parents value. In Regensburg, parents focus more on autonomous goals, meaning they encouraged independence and personal choice. In Ibadan, parents lean towards relational goals, emphasizing social roles, responsibilities, and fitting into the community. These different values are directly reflected in their communication styles. And the results for how mothers interacted, you can see it clearly here. Regensburg. Moms used a lot more deliberate scaffolding, the polite, question-based approach. Ibadan moms used much more assertive scaffolding, the direct, imperative style. In fact, deliberate scaffolding was almost non-existent for the Ibadan mothers. This confirms that the cultural difference in parenting style is very real and measurable. The statistical results here are significant, showing that both the culture the child comes from and the type of prompt used have a big impact on how they respond. The key finding is that interaction, the culture X prompt part. This is where you see that cultural congruency effect I mentioned earlier. It is not just that one culture is more responsive overall, but that each culture responds differently to different types of prompts. This is a really important point because before this study, a lot of what we knew about culture shaping cognition and motives came from observing what people did or asking them about their beliefs. This research actually tests the idea in a controlled way. By creating situations that either fit or clash with the child's cultural upbringing, they can see the direct impact on the child's behavior. And crucially, their emotional reactions like confusion and protest. This gives us stronger evidence for a cause and effect relationship. Think about confusion. When an infant looks puzzled, hesitates, or looks to their parent for a cue, it is a sign that their internal rulebook for how social interactions work has been challenged. They expected one thing, and something else happened. This suggests that children aren't just passively absorbing information, they are actively building models of how the world works. And these models are influenced by the consistent patterns they see in their own culture. So, what does this all mean? It tells us that the way parents and children interact from the very beginning isn't just about teaching skills. It is about shaping how children understand the social world. It is like parents are helping their children tune into a specific cultural radio station. The attractor states they mention are like these stable patterns of interaction that become the norm. Over time, these patterns influence how children think, what they feel motivated to do, and how they connect with others. It's a profound idea that our earliest social experiences, guided by culture, are literally building the foundation of our social minds. Now, no study is perfect, and the researchers are upfront about some limitations. One important point is the difference in socioeconomic background between the two groups. They acknowledge that socioeconomic status can play a big role in how parents communicate. This means that some of the observed differences might not be purely cultural, but also influenced by economic factors. Future research could explore this further by looking at more diverse socioeconomic groups within each country to really isolate the cultural impact. Overall, this study is a really strong piece of evidence for the idea that culture matters starting from infancy. It shows that the specific ways parents interact with their children are not universal. These interactions are culturally shaped, and in turn, they shape the child's cognitive and motivational development. It's a powerful reminder that normal is often what you grow up with, and that our earliest social environments play a crucial role in making us who we are. It is amazing to think that by the time we're 2 years old, our brains are already learning to navigate the world based on the specific social cues and expectations of our culture. This research gives us a concrete look at how that process unfolds and why it is so important. What do you think about these findings? Does this resonate with your own experiences or observations? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this exploration into the science of how culture shapes minds interesting, please give this video a like and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more fascinating dives into psychology. We'll see you next time.